let's review integers. So integers are whole numbers, and we're focusing on positives and negatives. Okay, it's important to remember our number line. Anything that is moving right of 0, the number's getting bigger. Anything moving to the left of 0, the number's getting smaller. Even if I move from 7 down to 2, my number is decreasing. Okay. Typically we tend to think of negatives as just negative numbers, but when you add a negative, your answer can still be positive. You just have to remember moving left or right. Okay, so let's get to it. When I add a positive, my number gets bigger. When I add a negative, my number gets smaller. So pause the video and try these. Okay, so I'm adding a positive in the first one, so my number's going to get bigger, so positive 3 plus positive 7 gives me positive 10. In the second example, I'm adding a negative. My number's going to get smaller. I start at negative 3, it's going to go down by 1, I have negative 4. I'm adding a positive, so I start at negative 5, but I'm adding positive 6, I'm going to end up with positive 1. And finally, I'm adding a negative, my number's going to get smaller. I start at positive 2, I add a negative, I end up with negative 6. Okay, so that's addition and subtraction. Let's move on to multiplication. When I multiply two positives, my answer is positive. I left the multiplication sign out just because you will often not see it. Okay, just remember, if there's no sign, it means multiply. So positive 3 times positive 4 gives me positive 12. When I multiply two negatives, my answer is positive. So negative 3 times negative 4 gives me positive 12. And finally, when I multiply a positive and a negative together, the answer is negative. So it doesn't matter if the positive's first or second. This is the same question, just reversed. So positive 4 multiplied by negative 2. It's the same thing as negative 2 times positive 4. My answer is going to be negative all the time. That's supposed to be red. Oh, it's supposed to be blue. Negative. Okay. So try these. So pause the video. Okay, so let's take them up. I've got a positive times a negative, so my answer has to be negative. Okay, 5 times 6 is 30, so it's going to be negative 30. I have a negative times a negative, that's going to give me a positive result. So 1 times 3 is 3, I have positive 3. I have a positive times a negative, I have one of each. So my answer is going to be negative. 2 times 4 is 8, so it's going to be negative 8. And finally, there's 3 of them in a row. I go left to right, just like BEDMAS. I've got a negative times a positive, so my answer here is going to be negative. So 2 times 5 is 10, so it's going to be negative 10 times negative 3. That's 2 negatives multiplied together, give me a positive. I didn't put division on here, but division rules are exactly the same. When I divide two negatives, my answer is positive. When I divide two positives, my answer is positive. When I divide a negative and a positive, my answer is going to be negative. Okay, so that is today's lesson.